Today's hearing was supposed to be about surveillance. Since they didn't get around to it, I will. The civil liberties faction who hate surveillance operate on a lie that security infringes on freedom. No, security enhances freedom, which ensures our survival, especially now when we're at war with a disease. Now, libertarians love to twist the Ben Franklin quote when he said that those who would give up liberty to purchase safety deserve neither. It's not about surveillance, but a tax dispute over who pays for frontier defense in Pennsylvania. Ben would have been fine with the NSA. What civil libertarians miss is our enemies realize that our love of liberty makes us vulnerable to their apocalyptic goals. They use our dedication to freedom to infiltrate, kill, and then inevitably rid us of that very same freedom. So what's the answer? We must realize that the survival of liberty requires a coexisting exception, one that allows us to stop the attacks on said liberty. This coexisting exception should sit beside our rights. Think of it as a bouncer whose job is to stop those people whose belief systems run counter to our freedom. So these anti-terror programs are not in conflict with liberty, but act as a tougher, more muscular pal, there to help, making sure that you're safe from dirty nukes, bioterror, and beheadings. Because it's hard to be free when you're dead. KG, are you tired of hearing this security infringing freedom argument? Because it's just like you're supposed to stop there and never actually wonder, maybe they go together.
Yeah, and this is the problem. And these are people, it's like, really, when you really think about it, you're going to be fine with a family member, a loved one, someone in your life being harmed, losing their life, being injured or maimed due to terror that could have been preventable if you actually had the will and the stomach to allow for a little bit of an investigation or intelligence gathering. Why do you have a problem with that? Why does human life, why is it valued so much lower than the right to go ahead and get some information from someone to prevent a loss of life? This is what bothers me so much. It's like, how much do we need to see in London and Manchester and here on our own soil in San Bernardino and in Orlando? How much is going to be enough? And at the Bataclan in Paris to say, that's that. Let's do something about it. Sounds like Theresa May has actually come to terms and to grips with it to say that enough is enough. We've got to do something about this. They are very clear about what they intend and that they will go to any lengths to be able to commit acts of jihad across the world to accomplish their goals. What are we willing to do? Is a small sacrifice too much to ask?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, Jesse, they know our system so well that they know that our system allows them to actually work within it. For example, they want Sharia law. Radical Islamists they don't want freedom, but because we're free, we allowed competing ideas into our country, even the ideas that destroy us.
It's a catch-22, and you know, that's why a lot of these people can come here and fly under the radar and plot and plan, because, you know, we don't surveil mosques, we allow freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and, you know, we don't ban hate speech. You hit the nail on the head. Privacy is worthless if you're in a coffin. And it's funny how the conversation has changed since the beginning of the Bush administration. When the initial surveillance program was unveiled, or reported, I think it was the New York Times broke that story. It was huge news, and civil libertarians were furious, and there was protests on the street, and President Bush was a tyrant who was shredding the Constitution. Then President Obama expanded the program. Trump is now reauthorizing the program. Trump might have been the victim of some of the abuses of the program. So I think right now, when the threat changes, you have to change the tools in your toolbox, and that's what we're doing, and I think that's just smart.
You know, Dana, they even in the hearing, there was one point when they said that the programs they were talking about saved countless lives internationally. It wasn't just about, when people say, oh, you don't have to worry about America. There haven't been people coming from this country or that country since 1975. We're safe. But these programs actually have extended people's lives, saved lives internationally.
Right, because the monitoring happens between calls that are or emails from overseas into the United States or vice versa. And so we are able to share with our partners, if we are able, you know, if we have good relationships, an ability to protect people or disrupt plots. And that's something that you don't want them to say in open session, right? Because we don't want them to know how we do it. But that's why, like, what Ed Snowden did was so damaging, because as Jesse was saying, the terrorist threats, they evolve with the technology, and so we have to as well. That doesn't mean that we have to give up our civil liberties, but we have to be honest about what we are willing to accept. And so President Trump is actually calling for the reauthorization of, it's called the 702 program.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be good to have the debate and then make all of these members of Congress vote on it before the August recess.
What do you think, Juan? Is the 702 collection valuable?
Well, you know, I was just thinking, why can't Greg and I talk about climate change? Why can't we have a big blow-up on this show? And you know what? I think I've got it. I know how to have a blow-up on the show. I think what we should tell the audience is that, in fact, the reality is here, the biggest threat to reauthorization came from President Trump and Republicans, his allies, who said, oh, Mike Flynn was unmasked under the FISA Act in 702 and asked a ton of questions today about, is it proper to unmask people, and they had to be told by the intelligence community, gee, we keep a strict record of who we talk to, who request an unmasking, or, you know, normally the names of Americans are redacted in these transactions. You are just monitoring conversations, email traffic.
Well, that's unfortunate for the Democrats that there's a paper trail of the unmasking request.
No, there's not.
That could blow up in Susan
they're probably
Rice's
glad
face.
there is.
No, I think they're glad there is,
Right.
Jesse, because it proves this is nothing unusual
Well, we'll
and
see
nothing
about that.
improper was done. But I would say to you that this is the threat, that somehow they have politicized this issue, and not in the way that you described, Greg, but they politicized it to be somehow an attack on President Trump, and that's never been what it's about.
All right.
Interesting debate.
I'm going to resist the blow-up that you so badly
Well,
wanted.
I think you should feel a little chill in the air.
I am. I'm very cold.
Global cooling.
I know.
That's
Took a
what I
cough
was
drop, so I'm not coughing anymore. America.